Hi everyone, my name's Gia and I'm a photographer based in Portland, Oregon. I also own Vev Studios, which is contemporary portraits for women, and Vev Weddings, which is fine art storytelling. So I'm coming to you today with a little tutorial on how to get that dusty rose color toning, which is so popular in the editorial magazine style of photography. And I've been doing it for a long time. It's worked really well. I just love it because it's super sexy and beautiful and romantic. But I want to show you how to do that too. So check it out. So right now, just what I pulled up for you is my Pinterest board. And what I do is really pull some of these amazingly toned fashion images that you see everywhere, and I dissect the colors in them because fashion and high editorial images are really great at telling that story through color. And that's a lot of times what you really see the difference between fashion images and just kind of your everyday images that come out of camera is really that building up of color. So one of the things that I really notice, you can see in an image like this and an image like this is, and this one is sort of that dusty tone where they're pulling up the blacks and making it a little more evocative of older film styles, right? Where the blacks aren't quite as rich. And further down, you'll see one of the color toning that like just really stuck with me is something like this and like this, where not only are they bringing up the blacks, but they're also creating this kind of magenta cast that's just super sexy and editorial. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've set up an action here that's for this rose tone to create an image like this. And I'll show you from colors here that are a little more evocative of just what you see in camera. The greens are green, the snow sky is gray, to this that just has more mood and more of that fashion quality. So I'm going to walk you through to show you how to make that yourself. And I just, for the sake of showing you, want you to see this is what the straight out of camera look like. Because I was shooting in the snow and you have to really shoot for these highlights to make sure they're not overexposed, you have to do some dancing in post. So if there's any interest in how I got from here to here, I can do a tutorial on that later. But this is leaving all the kind of color intact and with just some pump ups and all of that good stuff. And then this is the final color toning on it. So I'm going to turn this guy off. And I'm going to show you what I have in my actions, which are all my buttons. And right here with rose tone, when I hit it, boom, you'll see it starts plugging in all these different adjustment layers that I have dialed in, which makes it so easy, especially for weddings or something like that where you need a lot of consistency across the board. I can just click that button and have the rose tone just come into effect and be super awesome. The one caveat is that you really do have to, fine tune and finesse it. So I'm going to show you how to get here, and yeah, let's get into. The computer never works when you want it to. We'll just, oh yeah, okay. Thanks. Okay. Okay, good. All right, so we have our base layer. So I'm going to come down to the adjustments layer because it's super important to always work non-destructively. So I'm not going to do any direct editing on my layers. I'm going to stack them so I can turn them on and off, dial down the fill, do all sorts of fine tuning and adjustments to it. So this is my all-time favorite, black and white. Boom. Okay, so we get here, and this is where people usually stop, right? Black and white, but this is where the magic happens. If I click here and go into soft light, sexy, right? Super attractive. Those darks are super sumptuous and punchy. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. And the whites have been pulled up. So you get all of a sudden a lot of this rich contrast that's just super attractive to me. But we're not going to stop there. I'm going to hit Command J and I'm going to copy it, which now takes it way to an extreme we don't want. And I'm going to dial down the fill so it's just a tiny bit more. Now notice if I cover over the fill, opacity, all of these sliders are the same. And you can just dial it back this way. It's an easy way if you're not quite sure where you want to land instead of adding a number. So I do that. Now you can see these two layers kick up the contrast. Now the next one is my new favorite one, and black and white I've been rocking for years, and this one it's only been in the last couple that I've just like really loved it. Well, specifically known that it's there. So if I go into colors, basically any of my adjustments are going to affect just those specific colors. So because I want to create a magenta, or I say rose tone cast, I'm going to start with magentas, which is now going to say if there are any magentas in the image, I'm going to pull those up. Okay. Now I'm going to go to neutrals, and I'm going to take the neutrals, pump them up just a tiny bit, just 4. And lastly, and this is the one that really like is a game changer, with blacks. Now I'm going to take the blacks a little bit to magenta, and then see, this stuff is so like minute you can barely see it. I'm going to take it up a little bit more. But this is where it really gets amazing, is I'm going to dial the blacks back and see how it's just like, I mean, you can go crazy, right? But see how it just all of a sudden starts to create that faded editorial look that's just so attractive. So I'm going to lock it there. So black and white and selective. Now, this is the linchpin of awesomeness. You're going to do a new layer, and then you're going to come right here, and whatever color is selected on the bottom one is going to be filled, right? So right now it's white. That's totally fine as a placeholder. I'm going to hit Command Delete, and of course you're not going to see anything. I'm going to drop my fill down to 10, and since I know exactly what I want, I'm just going to click it and then hit Tab. See now, right? That's starting to look beautiful, but just you wait. If I go down to blend modes and hit lighten, then what happens is it just creates this really nice blend over the images and lightening up the whites, and yeah, it's just all sorts of goodness. But if I stick with white, it could be here and be lovely and great. But what I do to get that magenta cast is I come in here and I pick a color, and I would encourage you to totally experiment, because it it really, you can create sepia tones by hitting somewhere in this orange kind of brownish color. You can really try and get some of that coolness in fashion imagery. Cool in color tone, not as in, you know, high school table you can't sit with us type of cool, just for clarification. And when you hit OK and do Command Delete again, see, now you can see the magenta really coming into play. And that's it. The one thing that you'll see that I did in my action is I did a curves adjustment layer. So again, in adjustments and curves. And I usually do this because sometimes I find that with selective color, it brings, if there's a big chunk of darkness, it just kind of is too light for me. So I'll drop down the contrast here, or drop down the whole color of everything, and it makes everything too dark. But if I hit Command I to invert the selection here, it'll hide everything. Now if I paint with white, and I'm going to make my brush smaller by hitting the left bracket key, and my flow is pretty small on 3. If I then do it, I can slowly paint in and bring some of that darkness back. Now what's important is all of these are adjustment layers, which means they all have masks. So if I think I hit her hair too hard with this selective color, I can do this same thing, but now I want to hide, so I'm going to switch to black, and I can just take a little bit of that layer effect back, right? Do the same thing with all of these, which is really nice, is that you have that control. A lot of times with the eyes, there tends to be a shadow there, and so I'll bring it up, bring back off with that selective color. And a lot of times the same with the black and white too. The black and white really creates that drama, but if you have, you know, a lot of black layer, you don't really want too much drama, because it'll make it all black. So that is it. Go forth and create awesomeness. If you dug the video, be sure to like it below. That way other people can find it easily. And be sure to comment and let me know what you thought. And if you have any other ideas for tutorials, I'm game. Also, be sure to subscribe if you want to get more video tutorials from us at Bev Studios. All right, thanks.